Officer Chelsea Brown. I am a police officer in the patrol unit at the Evanston Police Department. Well, the evidence technicians are the kind of first responders for collecting, preserving, and documenting crime scenes and evidence. Math and science you don't think would be applicable in police work necessarily, but it is. Maybe not necessarily, in a crime lab type of fashion, but a lot of that, observation, taking notes, documentation, critical thinking is extremely important in how, police officers do their job. Evidence technicians can take it a little bit further because we do have, certain chemicals or methodologies that we can use to try to collect evidence or, make what's invisible visible. Depending on where in the city you're assigned, because each day that could be different. So if I'm, for instance, deployed as the evidence technician for the day, I would ride in a separate vehicle. It's designed to hold all of our evidence collection materials, and I would be deployed to whatever scenes needed processing for the day. We come out there, we photograph the scene. That's the first thing we do, to, take a snapshot of where everything is placed, kind of a snapshot in time, how things were at the conclusion of the event. So you would document the scene very thoroughly with pictures, with photographic evidence that's not altered. Then you would go into the actual collection process. Fingerprints aren't visible by the naked eye usually, so we have to use compounds in a powder type of form to make what's invisible visible. Bring those to the surface. If we can find them, then we have to collect them. We can't just leave them there. You can photograph those as well, and then use different collection techniques, tape, gel lifts, to remove those fingerprints. And then you now have a piece of evidence that you can preserve and send to a crime lab for analysis. Well, I first got interested in law enforcement when I was about 14 years old, and I read a book, a nonfiction book, by David Fisher called Hard Evidence. And it's an inside look at the FBI crime lab and the science that they use to help solve cases, or to piece together the evidence, piece together the crime. So I thought that was great, being able to use that to put bad people in jail. And I kind of charted my course and was also very interested in human behavior. Then I went on to graduate school and got my graduate degree in criminology. So I used that then to apply to local law enforcement. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to school to become, an evidence technician, and trained here at the department as well. And I've been doing it for several years now. I really enjoy it. Writing is perhaps some of the most, if not the most important thing that we do. You can't articulate what happened, it never happened. Same thing with collecting evidence and photographs. If you don't do it properly, it never happens. So, math and science are very important, but being able to actually articulate what you observed, when you observed it, is extremely important. And to be able to articulate it well, something that's understandable by everybody. Detail is very important in police work. It's extremely important. You have to be very specific. Math and science are very good at specifics and details. You need to take measurements. You need to know what an inch is, what a centimeter is. You need to be able to articulate that. You need not only to articulate it, but to show it. I need to be able to take a ruler, put it up to a wound, and photograph it, and be able to show with a picture, dimensions, for instance, of a wound, and then to articulate my observations. The court system places quite a bit of emphasis on hard physical evidence. Science and math are rooted in fact, not opinion. People give opinions. sometimes not always facts. That's just human nature. That's how we are. But math and science, 2 + 2 = 4. There is no opinion on that. That's how it is. Prosecutors, defense attorneys, juries, they like to know facts. How do you know this is blood? Well, I did X, Y, and Z. Collection methods using chemical tests. The crime lab did their own test, and they can show you not only is it blood, it's human blood, and it belongs, to this gentleman over here because we took a sample of his blood and compared to the sample that we got at the crime scene, and it's a match. Being able to put everything together is great. When all the pieces finally come together, there's no greater feeling because you've done everything right, you've done your job, and it's being used now to put somebody in jail that needs to be there. That's either a danger to society or, to their family. That's the best feeling, knowing that you're doing or trying to do some sort of good to keep bad people, from destroying, everything that we kind of hold dear.